starting. Let me fix the microphone. I'm starting a new chapter, the chapter 14 of Fundamental Christianity. In this chapter, I'm going to talk about identity. As you see behind me in the background, and the cup of coffee is hot and the steam's coming out of the cup. So, who am I in Jesus Christ? That's the thing, that's the question that every Christian should ask themselves. But before I start talking about identity in Christianity, let me discuss about identity in general. I found a psychologist that he had an article about identity, and I reviewed that article, and I'm going to discuss that with that psychologist. Is Iranian psychologist, and I found him, and I'm going to tell you about what is identity in general. According to psychology, identity is largely concerned with the question, who are you? What does it mean to be who are you? When somebody asks you, who are you? What is your answer? Sometimes when somebody asks you, who are you? You say your name. My name is Mohsen Khabbari, or I am Mohsen Khabbari. Sometimes when you go somewhere and they ask you, who are you? You say, I'm a doctor. I'm a police officer. I'm a security officer. I'm a teacher. I'm a new teacher. The one that makes, I made an appointment and I go to doctor and say, I introduce myself. Of course, they don't say, who are you? But in some occasions, they might ask. If they are polite, they ask, who are you? And you can introduce. But sometimes they are rude. They say, who the hell you think you are? So you can identify yourself with Jesus Christ. Then we have different answers to the question, who are you? But all of them relate to the identity. All of them relate to the identity. So if somebody asks you, who are you? If you are a Christian, you can say, I'm a child of God. If somebody asks you, who are you? You can ask, who are you? That you dare to ask me, who are you? And we come to the conclusion that every answer that you give after who are you is related to your identity. Identity relates to our basic values that dictate the choices we make. These choices reflect who we are and what we value. You see, When somebody make choices, every one of us make choices, and based on those choices, your identity defines. And one of the chapters of fundamental Christianity, I discuss about relationship between psychology, philosophy, and Christianity. So we can go back there and talk about that. In the favor of time, I don't go back there. But there is a definition of identity according to psychology, according to philosophy, and according to Christianity. There is a definition for everything, and there is a definition for identity. So if somebody asks you, who are you? You reply to that answer. That I'm blah, 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 but I'm a doctor, I'm preacher, I'm a child of God. So if I want to identify myself, first of all, I can say I'm a child of God. Mighty God. His name is above all names. When I want to continue that, I can say I'm a preacher, I'm a published author, I'm a coach. Then there is, if I want to continue, I can continue on and on to define myself. But in short, brief, I can introduce myself and I give my identity. So I will discuss about why identity matters later on. But for now, we have to give a right answer that who we are. If somebody asks you who you are, you can answer that. And however, few people choose their identity. When you are born, you identify with that family, with that country, with that city. Instead, they simply internalize the value of their parent or the dominant culture. Even Jews, Pharisees, told Jesus Christ that we learn from our father. Generation after generation, some things pass on. Wrong or right, it pass on, and they accept it. They accept the custom, they accept the normal things that society thinks. They take that identity. Unfortunately and sadly, these values may not be aligned with one's authentic self and create an unfulfilling life. Maybe you were born in a poor family and you are labeled with poverty, but you can change that. It's not your identity. Sometimes they ask the children of work in Iran, what is your dream? They may not even know what the dream is. What is dream? Really, what is dream? So you take the culture of the society, you take the norm of that family, and unfortunately, most of the time, does not fit with your true identity. It happens for the Christian too. I was born again in a church, in one church, and I shouldn't identify with that church. It's not fulfilling my identity. It's not aligned with my own authentic self. In contrast, fulfilled people are able to live a life true to their values and pursue meaningful goals. Lack of a coherent sense of identity will lead to uncertainty about what one wants to do in life. That's true. That is so true. That's why I wrote a book, Live the Fullest of Your Life, to show people, based on my experience, how can you reach your goals, how you can enjoy your life, how can live to the fullest of your life. But not many people go out of the box. Not many people think out of the box, and they prefer to stay in that box. They prefer, some people I know, person that said, I'm happy with my situation. He doesn't want to change his situation. So if you are happy, stay in that situation. But I'm not happy with my situation and I want to change my situation. But what is true self? Let's define the true self. The ultimate goal for individuals is to develop and nurture those choices that are consistent with their true self. When you want to make a choice, I told you before that, when you want to make a choice, what are you thinking about? When you want to make a choice, it depends on your worldview. If you're a Christian, if you're a believer, you think about eternity. But if you are not a believer, you think about right now. You want to gather money as much as possible. And you think it's a wise thing to do, to gather as much as you want and save it for example, retirement. And you think it's a wise thing to do. I'm not against planning. I'm not against thinking about future. I'm not against thinking about your retirement, of course. And at some point, I tried to sell life insurance to people. If I was against such things, I shouldn't try to sell people life insurance. So I'm not against that. But the point is, if you are believing in something, your choices based on that belief. When you think that the time ahead of you is more precious than your past, so you live behind the past. To deny the true self is to deny the best within us. So don't deny true self. If you put a mask on yourself and you are denying yourself and you are a hypocrite, you are telling lies to others, so it happens that you're telling to yourself. So don't deny true self. Accept who you are. Wherever you are and whomever you are with, accept who you are, your identity, accept your situation. But you can't change that situation, but accept that situation that you are in, accept your character. If you are jealous, accept that you're jealous. If you are a liar, accept that you are a liar. But you can't change that. To find more happiness in life means to live in harmony with one's true self. You see, in Trinity, there is 3 persons in one, and they live in harmony with each other. So some people might have different responsibility. Father, teacher, son, uncle, husband, boyfriend, maybe, yes, sometimes people have same personality. It's not good, but some people, they are husband and they are boyfriend at the same times. What they can do? There is people who are husband and they are boyfriend or a girl. What can I do? But the thing is, we put it aside, that nonsense. But the point is, in life, you have to live in harmony with your true self. If you are a husband and you are a boyfriend, it's not your true self. You are acting, right? You cannot live in happiness in denying true self. Your true self is husband of somebody. And you want to be boyfriend of another girl, you are not living a happiness life. To find more happiness in life means to live in harmony with one's true self. So, if you want to live a happy life, you have to be true to yourself. If you telling lies, if you are putting yourself in another person's shoes, again, I'm not against with empathy and sympathy. You can feel somebody else feeling, but it's not the same as that person experience. You cannot realize how is a bad feeling to lose a loved one unless you lose a loved one yourself. And excitement is the same thing. You cannot feel how does it feel to be in love unless you fell in love. So the point is, live with your true self. Don't act. When you are going to work, you act differently with your family acting differently, when your friend acting differently, they are all different. It's not the one's true self. You have to be yourself all the time. Even when nobody watches, you have to be true with yourself. And now, we're going to philosophy. So I described what does it mean identity according to psychology. Now, according to philosophy, there are two theories, body theories and memory theories. According to these theories, identity is different. So, as if you have studied philosophy a little, you know that everything in philosophy is controversial. Because philosophy is asking questions. And answering that question is controversial. Body theory is a theory that says personal identity persists over time because you remain in the same body from birth to death. That's the body theory. According to body theory, your identity is the same from birth to death. Because if you think about it, it makes sense. Because when you were born to this body. I was born to this body. And I grew up. I changed my clothes. I changed my hair. I made a LASIK and I changed my eye vision. And we can go on and on and on. I grew up, my legs grown up, my hands grown up, everything grown up. But I'm still the same, and I'm still in the same body. We get fat, we lose fat, everything happens to our body. We have operation on nose, but in the same body. So maybe even we go and tan. So our skin change color. It gets brownish, but we are still in the same body. So according to body theory, our identity based on our body. Our body says that if somebody see me and they see my body, it is my identity. My identity is my body. But there is another theory. Because sometimes we have argued with that theory. How? I explain you why. Do you see a lot of transplant in the body? So they get one kidney from one person and put it to another person. They get one heart from one body, give it to another person. So that organs that in the body define to who you are, I don't think so. So I argue with that theory that identity persists on the body. No. Because Now we do every day. We take blood. We give blood. Our organs can change. So I give aside this theory. I don't accept this theory. But there is memory theory. That memory theory, John Locke says that the things that makes you you is the non-physical stuff or your consciousness. Again, what choices we make, how we can choose. We make choices with our mind, our consciousness. When we make choices, it develop our characters. When we learn something, it change our identity. If I don't study and don't become a doctor, so I cannot say that I'm a doctor. I'm the same body, but I go to university and I study medicine. And after years of hard work, I became a doctor and I say I'm a doctor. Right? So, according to memory theory, our identity is based on consciousness. As a child, we don't know nothing. But our identity is the same. I'm the Mohsen when I was a child, and I'm Mohsen again. But our consciousness changing all the time. But our identity doesn't change. It's some complicated things. This is complicated because our identity is not our memories. If somebody gets dementia, I don't remember anything, anyone. Even some people, they don't remember where the house is. They go out and they get lost. So, what is their identity? If, according to memory theory, they don't have any identity, they don't have any memory of past, they don't have any memory at all. So they don't have any identity? I don't think so. So I can argue this theory as well. So what is identity, actually? If it's not our body, if it's not our memory, what is our identity? Our identity is our belief. Our identity is our worldview. Our identity is what is our priorities, what is our identities. When I get up in the morning, what is important to me? And what is coming on during the day? So I think I can come up with a third one, the third theory. Our identity is our values, is our beliefs, is our worldviews. Your identity is not based on your gender. You can change your gender. Nowadays, people, a man convert to woman, a woman convert to man. Their identity change? I'm not thinking clear on that. But I think you shouldn't change your gender, of course. I'm against that. Because when God gave you something, you shouldn't change that. But people do it. So their identity change? I don't think so. Your identity doesn't change, but sometimes you lose who you are. You get lost. And even yourself doesn't know who you are. You can lose your identity, but your identity never change. But you can lose it yourself, your identity. That's my theory. And there is collective identity. And collective identity, we are based on this sociology. I was born in Iran and my identity is Iranian because I was born in Iran. Then I immigrated to Canada and I am a Canadian citizen. I have a citizenship of Canada, so I am a Canadian. So I have Iranian Canadian identity. That's another identity. And sometimes we belong to a city, and there is a stereotype that people belong to that city have such characters. People are Scottish have such a character. British people, European people, American people. We are labeling people with the country that they are living in. So, if you don't do this, you cannot identify yourself. I'm defining identity. I'm not against. I'm Iranian. Sometimes I'm not proud of being Iranian, but I am Iranian. So there is a collective identity. Identity is also based on gender. We see men, we see women, we see children. So these are identities. We identify that person, the man. I define that person as woman. This is a group of, when we discuss about right of women, right of black people. So there is they are identified with their color of skin, black people. This is their identity. And then there is another collective identity. Jewish, Muslims, Christians, we can identify ourselves with the group of people that we have the same belief. That's the collective identity. So I will discuss later what happens if I told you, if I immigrate to Canada. I'm still Iranian. My identity as an Iranian doesn't change. But it's the same as religion. I will discuss it later. But why identity matters? Why identity matters? Identity matters because if you don't know who you are, you get lost. If you want to reach a goal, you cannot reach that goal if you don't know who you are. If you are not familiar with your past, you cannot go further in future. If somebody asks you, who the hell you think you are, your identity matters. Identity defines us. Identity tells us that we have a foundation. So everybody should have identified something or some people or anything. So identify matters. Maybe I discuss it further in few session in this chapter, identity. Peace of God be with you all.